Hey there, everybody. My name's Paul Nix with the Time Repair Corporation, and this is Trash Talk. Today, we're going to be talking about a wonderful material, cardboard, how you can collect it, break it down, grade it, and start using it in your own DIY and prototyping projects. When you start collecting materials like cardboard for your own projects, one of the first things that you're going to notice is the amount of space that it takes up. So, let's get started with breaking it down. Now, before we go any further, I think it's important to reference the imminent danger of cardboard cuts. They're no joke. So, while you're working, if you've got to, wear gloves. Otherwise, take it easy. Keep an eye on your fingers. And while you're doing this, involve a friend. It's always much faster and simpler to go through a chore like this when you've actually got someone to talk to. And when you're done, the two of you can sketch out your designs and start your project ideas together. Everything's always more fun with friends. This is the fun part. Now, one of the things that you're going to want to pay attention to while you're breaking them down are the different ways that the cardboard has been put together to maintain useful shapes. In this case, you've got something that's like a nice simple bowl, and you can see the way it's been connected here on the sides. This is something to keep in mind because when you're prototyping your own designs, you can always keep those shapes and profiles in mind and know that with a similar shape and a similar method of attachment, you can replicate that design for your own uses. An important thing to know, especially when you start considering that every single one of these starts as something flat before it becomes something three-dimensional. So the different ways that the cardboard has already been attached are clues for you when you're doing your own projects. Something simple, but good for a beginner. Something to get started with. Another thing to keep in mind is that some of these cardboard products have already been shaped remarkably into different designs that can be incredibly useful to you. For example, you can keep this in mind when you're doing the Seeds of Change lesson with us. At this point, you could easily fill this material with the different peat pellets, water them down, and plant several different sets of seedlings all here. And then when you're ready to plant them out someplace else when they've gotten bigger, you can just clip them apart and place these immediately into the different pots. It's sort of ready to go for your own planting experiments. It can also be used for dry storage. Another thing to keep in mind as you're going through the process of breaking them down, some of these boxes have pre-perforated ways of opening that you'll be able to see. Now, if one side has already been opened up, remember, you can always reseal that with your own glue or tape and then use the perforated opening as a start for whatever project you're working on, even if it's something simple. And the next thing to keep in mind, you can start doing the grading work and start thinking about the different thicknesses and strengths of the different cardboards. This is just something to keep your eye on. Whenever someone mentions corrugated cardboard, they're talking about something very specific. We've got multiple layers of cardboard that are stacked on top of each other. Now, usually, that corrugate also includes a little bit of room in between the layers where you can see into the actual cardboard itself. We should have a good view for you there of a little bit of the corrugate on the edge. So otherwise, you'll just have simple flat cardboard. Both are useful, but the corrugate ends up being much stronger. So when you think of corrugated cardboard, think of your standard cardboard box. And when you think of non-corrugated cardboard, think of something very thin like this. Both are useful. Just depends on what you need out of the material. So, once you've got all of that cardboard broken down, then you can start thinking about the fun part. what you actually want to do with it. But first, let's go through some grading, and then we'll be able to jump right into some project work and your own design. When you start grading your material, the first distinction that I go for is corrugated or uncorrugated. Now, we mentioned this briefly before. Corrugated, you'll be able to see sometimes some actual lines in the material itself. Now, what that is the internal material that's been woven in, sort of just flattened like an accordion. Now, because of that, it makes the entire bit of material much stronger to bending forces, because you've got the two outside planes separated and lending strength to each other. In this case, with the flatter material, even when you've got it put together the same way, you can still get bend and deformation pretty easily because it's so floppy. Both are super useful, but it turns out that you need to really think about the application of where you need those properties. If you need something like a hinge, go with this. It's going to bend again and again and again. If you need something that's going to maintain its shape, or that you've specifically placed a hinge at, use this. And you can always make a score with some kind of a sharp edge along one point, and then make that a new cut point where you can bend it as a hinge. But whenever possible, work with what you've already got in the material. There's no reason to reinvent the wheel. Now that we've gone over the basics of grading, the difference between corrugated and uncorrugated, what we're going to do is we're going to go through all of the material we've got, and we're going to separate it out that way, and then we're going to look at the different thicknesses and the different material properties of each and separate them a couple more times, according to what your needs are. Now, the wonderful thing about material science is that you're basically just looking at how things already work and making observations for yourself. So you can divide these categories of grading however you'd like. And online, there are also different guidelines available in different places. Use whatever you're comfortable with. Looking at our uncorrugated material, you'll notice probably by the end that you have a whole lot of pieces that are really big and really nice, and a whole bunch of pieces that are tiny and weird and different and funny shaped. Now, it may be that you don't have a lot of use for the tiny, weird, and funny shaped ones. And that's okay, because the odds are you've got pretty limited storage for things like, I don't know, a great big pile of broken down cardboard. So, anything that you're not going to need, that's just fine. Bundle it up, make it as flat as you can, and then ideally, get it rolled up somehow so that you can bind it like that. And then that part you can take right down to whatever your nearest recycling facility is. Some places will have it near the apartment. Some places won't have anything nearby. Now, if that's the case, then as a community, you can actually start reaching out to friends and neighbors so that you're all accumulating a lot of it together. At that point, you can start to approach different people who can make offers on the material in bulk and then get something back to everybody for it. But that way it can all be taken care of, even if your community doesn't necessarily have the infrastructure in place already. Once you've got things at least started with the grading process, you can start to look at the material you've accumulated and then rate for yourself the usability of it. Does it fit your projects? You can also double check to see if there's anything like this where the vast bulk of the material has kind of lost its usability, potentially. Now, maybe you've got a use for that specific shape. If you don't, then put this and anything else off to the side and get it recycled with the rest of the scraps. Because whoever you live with or around is going to thank you for not accumulating too much all at one place at one time. In the long term, by doing this yourself and encouraging others, you'll know that you've already got materials ready to go either at your place or at someone else's, so you don't need to hold on to as much. In fact, if you start to put together community groups based around this, then you can even donate the materials you've got if they need more at the actual community group. Then whenever anybody needs to get a hold of something really nice, like one of those big refrigerator boxes, that is gold when you're a kid and you want to build something fun, you'll know exactly where to go for it. Everyone will have it ready to go, broken down, and ready to reassemble. In this process, you can see I've got my corrugateds here. You'll start to notice a lot of patterns. the odds are that you're a creature of habit. It happens. And if you've been paying any attention at all to this process, you'll know that I've got a cat. A fussy cat. It's a cat. Cats are fussy. But because of that, you'll know that you can get a hold of very specific shapes very simply and easily. They're just going to happen over time. It's what you already purchased. So, keeping that in mind, you can know that you have certain shapes that can be relied upon to come up regularly to supplement your prototyping process. And also, different grades of material coming out of the process. So, keep this in mind. And as you start growing a community of people around you who are interested in DIY and prototyping as well, you can actually sort out with them in advance what kinds of materials you accumulate and balance out your stockpiles with them. That way, all of you have useful materials that you can use for your own projects. Now, I feel like this grade of corrugate, simple cat food box corrugate, is gold. Even if you just reassemble it into the box shape that it already had, having it open at one end, you've got the option to then coat it with different materials, for example, brightly colored papers, what have you. You can even put it together inside out and have a simple generic box for mailing things. All you've got to do is re-glue and tape the edges, and you're ready to go. By using a simple water-soluble glue, you can know that once it's actually used, it can break down not just into the individual smaller chain polymers, but eventually down into the simple monomers that it was made of. That's the nice thing about water-soluble glues. Effectively, they're still plastic, but they're a plastic that you can break down. As you can see here with my corrugates, we've got the same deal as with the non-corrugated, where you get some that are broken up and a little weird, and some that are just little scraps, maybe not terribly useful to the projects you have in mind. Maybe the hole's too big, maybe the hole's just perfect. You decide that for yourself. And some that were just kind of big and strange custom designs to begin with. If it's got a big hole in it, maybe it's not for you, but it can all be properly flattened and put with materials you don't need. In fact, you can bundle that together with the uncorrugated waste and have it all down for recycling together. Now for me, the final basic grade that you want to do when you're looking at corrugated is when you find the thicker stuff, like this, or thicker still like you would find for standard cardboard boxes. With that stuff, you have even more strength, you have even more rigidity, even when it's a nice long piece. So you can build a lot of interesting structures with that, and having a lot of surface area is not bad either when your structures and projects start getting bigger. So that'll take a lot more storage space. And again, if you're living with other people, you've got to be considerate, otherwise they're going to throw away all of your DIY and craft stuff. Be reasonable. Get what you need and use it as you need it. If you end up needing more, you can probably go down to grocery stores, you can probably go even down to big box stores near you and probably talk them out of some of their corrugate for a specific project. I would only keep in stock the stuff you need for smaller prototyping projects and the stuff that you know you're going to do right away. That way, everyone has peace in the household. The final good example of that style, pizza boxes. But remember, they're probably going to have grease in them. They're going to have that good pizza smell, but it may not be what you want going into a craft project if it's going to be inside your home. Think about it. It's up to you. I believe in you guys. All right, everybody. Now, here at Trash Talk, we have a couple of basic rules. The most important one is to look at the materials around you and ask yourself if they are really trash. Now, some of these may be something you don't have a use for. Now, that doesn't mean someone else won't have a use for it, but it's not up to you to store it waiting for them to come along. So if it's something you don't have a use for, get it out of your home, get it recycled, get it into use somewhere. Now, if it's something you can use, fantastic. In either of those cases, either it can be reused or you can use it immediately. It is not trash. So don't put it mixed in with everything else. not when it can be energy, not when it can be a prototype, not when it can be something that helps you learn or grow. That's the most important rule of trash talk, is to really decide what the trash is. One of the things that you can immediately start doing, if you feel like it, is sketching on the material exactly what you want to do. Because as a bonus, the cardboard also works as scrap paper. It does not matter what it looks like, because by the end, when you've actually got it built into something three-dimensional, you can also paper the outside, make it look however you want. You can even use a bit of aluminum foil if you wanted to have that moon landing shiny effect. It's important. Once you've got an idea in mind, it doesn't really matter what it is, but start with a shape in your mind, ideally something three-dimensional. You can start building that with the materials you have. If you need to, if it's terribly complex, start building it at a smaller scale. Anytime you need to make a bend in cardboard, you can come in with a straight edge or some other blade, cut along it, and then bend it in the opposite direction, and you'll get a solid crease in that direction. You can use that to start with for your projects. Once you start shaping and building something, you can connect things either with pins, at least temporarily, or if you're ready to, you can start including little tabs and gluing those shapes together. Using a simple white glue that you would use on paper, like Elmer's glue, or simple craft or wood glue, it's a good way to go. It's water soluble, so it's not going to do anything with your hands, and once it's been broken down in the water, you know that it's actually breaking down into the basic particles, the monomers that that glue was made of. This is what it's about. Now that you've got everything separated out, a fun thing to think about is exactly what you're going to be doing with your materials. Now, I'm going to be using them to prototype and actually build a cat castle, because I can. Once you've got an idea of what you want to do with it, it's extremely versatile. You can take simple cardboards like this, and generally they'll have a bit of ink and maybe a little bit of shine to them, but generally they're not actually plastic coated. You can tell most times because if you put some water on it, the water will soak into the material. If there were plastic present, you wouldn't be able to get through as easily. Now, if you have a specific shape that you need the cardboard to be, you can generally shape it over a mold of some kind and get the whole thing wet and let it reshape itself. You can even layer on more cardboard so that you have it thicker, and then once it dries in that shape, you'll have a preform made. Another thing you can do if you need to is you can take cardboard like this, generally work with the thin stuff if you're going to try this, but you can either shred it down or you can actually put it directly into a blender with water until you have a sort of a cardboard mulch. Now that material, you can work like clay and build onto a different shape. For example, the shape of a flower pot. And then once it dries on the top of the flower pot, you can pop it off and your new shape will be ready to go. That new shape will be ready to become whatever you need it to be. Either the ramparts on a castle like my cat castle, or what have you. You've got a lot of different options with this material. It's effectively just thick paper. So you can work with it the same way that we'll be detailing in a later episode of Trash Talk when we talk about magazines and newspapers. So once you're ready to, start playing. Have fun. For me, I set Tuesday nights to be my arts and crafts night. And I come back together with the cat and anybody else in the household to work together so that we can make things that are actually useful to the household. And if they end up just being fun, that's fun once in a while too, and it's a good way to blow off some steam. Once you're done, anything that you're not using, any scraps you can break down, and you can bring them down for recycling just like the rest of your cardboard scrap. It's an important practice to get into, and it helps clear materials out of your household. At the same time, you can be taking down magazines, newspapers, whatever else you've got. Now, make sure that you tune back into Trash Talk the next time we air an episode, because we'll be talking about a new material and talking about new uses for those materials. The wonderful thing about cardboard is that you can always get a hold of it pretty easily. So remember, use it wisely and get it back into the system anytime you can. I've had in mind a specific project because, as I said, I've got a cat. Now, I'm going to use these materials over the next couple of follow-up videos to build a castle for that cat. It's going to be a lot of fun, and it's going to take a lot of time and work and design, but I'd love for you guys to tune in and check out what I'm up to. I may even be putting some of this on the live stream through Twitch. So tune in, subscribe, and also make sure to subscribe to this YouTube channel. I want to thank everybody for tuning in to Trash Talk today. Remember that the Time Repair Corporation is there if you're thinking about sustainability or education. We've got your back, and all of our materials are always free. So come check us out. That's timerepaircorp.com. We'll be looking forward to hearing from you, and we'll be looking forward to seeing what you've made. Thank you once again, and I'll see you next time on Trash Talk.